What if I told you that a book written nearly 2,000 years ago could change the way you think forever? These are the private thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, written not for fame but for himself. What you're about to hear may change your life. Valued by him, or that could find in his heart to think himself a better man than he would also be very pleasant and gracious. 13. In my father, I observed his meekness, his constancy without wavering in those things which after a due examination and deliberation he had determined. How free from all vanity he carried himself in matter of honor and dignity, as they are esteemed his laboriousness and assiduity, his readiness to hear any man that had aught to say tending to any common good, how generally and impartially he would give every man his due, his skill and knowledge when rigor or extremity or when remissness or moderation was in season, how he did abstain from all unchaste love of youths, his moderate condescending to other men's occasions as an ordinary man, neither absolutely requiring of his friends that they should wait upon him at his ordinary meals, nor that they should of necessity accompany him in his journeys, and that whensoever any business upon some necessary occasions was to be put off and omitted before it could be ended, he was ever found when he went about it again, the same man that he was before. His accurate examination of things in consultations, and patient hearing of others. He would not 6. Hastily give over the search of the matter, as one easy to be satisfied with sudden notions and apprehensions. His care to preserve his friends, how neither at any time he would carry himself towards them with disdainful neglect and grow weary of them, nor yet at any time be madly fond of them. His contented mind in all things, his cheerful countenance, his care to foresee things afar off and to take order for the least, without any noise or clamor. Moreover, how all acclamations and flattery were repressed by him. How carefully he observed all things necessary to the government, and kept an account of the common expenses, and how patiently he did abide that he was reprehended by some for this, his strict and rigid kind of dealing. 7. How he was neither a superstitious worshipper of the gods, nor an ambitious pleaser of men, or studious of popular applause, but sober in all things, and everywhere observant of that which was fitting, no affecter of novelties, in those things which conduced to his ease and convenience, plenty, whereof his fortune did afford him, without pride and bragging, yet with all freedom and liberty, so that as he did freely enjoy them without any anxiety or affectation, when they were present, so when absent he found no want of them. Moreover, that he was never commended by any man, as either a learned acute man, or an obsequious officious man, or a fine orator, but as a ripe mature man, a perfect sound man, one that could not endure to be flattered, able to govern both himself and others. Moreover, how much he did honor all true philosophers, without upbraiding those that were not so. His sociableness, his gracious and delightful conversation, but never unto satiety. His care of his body within bounds and measure, not as one that desired to live long, or overstudious of neatness and elegancy, and yet not as one that did not regard it, so that through his own care and providence he seldom needed any inward physic or outward applications, but especially how ingeniously he would yield to any that had obtained any peculiar faculty, as either eloquence or the knowledge of the laws or of ancient customs or the like, and how he concurred with 6. Patient hearing. He would not 16. C. Translates his conjectural reading epsilon pi mu omicron nu lambda lambda omicron upsilon. Omicron pi rho omicron alpha pi sigma tau eta. Stick suggests a reading with much the same sense. Epsilon pi mu omicron nu, alpha lambda lambda, omicron tau omicron iota. 7. Strict and rigid dealing. 16. C. Translates tau omicron nu pal. ms. As though from tau nu omicron, in the sense of strain, rigor. The reading of other Mrs. Tauiotanu is preferable. Them in his best care and endeavor that every one of them might in his kind. For that wherein he excelled, be regarded and esteemed, and although he did all things carefully after the ancient customs of his forefathers, yet even of this was he not desirous that men should take notice, that he did imitate ancient customs. Again, how he was not easily moved and tossed up and down, but loved to be constant both in the same places and businesses, and how after his great fits of headache he would return fresh and vigorous to his wonted affairs. Again, that secrets he neither had many nor often, and such only as concerned public matters. His discretion and moderation in exhibiting of the public sights and shows for the pleasure and pastime of the people, in public buildings, conjuries, and the like, in all these things, having a respect unto men only as men, and to the equity of the things themselves, and not unto the glory that might follow. Never wont to use the baths at unseasonable hours. No builder. Never curious or solicitous, either about his meat or about the workmanship or color of his clothes, or about anything that belonged to external beauty. In all his conversation, far from all inhumanity, all boldness and incivility, all greediness and impetuosity. Never doing anything with such earnestness and intention that a man could say of him that he did sweat about it, but contrariwise, all things distinctly as at leisure, without trouble, orderly, soundly, and agreeably. Man might have applied that to him which is recorded of Socrates, that he knew how to want and to enjoy those things, in the want whereof most men show themselves weak, and in the fruition intemperate, but to hold out firm and constant, and to keep within the compass of true moderation and sobriety in either estate, is proper to a man who hath a perfect and invincible soul, such as he showed himself in the sickness of Maximus. 14 From the gods I received that I had good grandfathers and parents, a good sister, good masters, good domestics, loving kinsmen, almost all that I have, and that I never through haste and rashness transgressed against any of them, notwithstanding that my disposition was such, as that such a thing, if occasion had been, might very well have been committed by me, but that it was the mercy of the gods, to prevent such a concurring of matters and occasions, as might make me to incur this blame, that I was not long brought up by the concubine of my father, that I preserved the flower of my youth, that I took not upon me to be a man before my time, but rather put it off longer than I needed, that I lived under the government of my Lord and Father, who would take away from me all pride and vainglory, and reduce me to that conceit and opinion that it was not impossible for a prince to live in the court without a troop of guards and followers, extraordinary apparel, such and such, torches and statues, and other like particulars of state and magnificence, but that a man may reduce and contract himself almost to the state of a private man, and yet, for all that not to become the more base and remiss in those public matters and affairs, wherein power and authority is requisite, that I have had such a brother who, by his own example might stir me up to think of myself, and by his respect and love, delight and please me, that I have got ingenuous children, and that they were not born distorted, nor with any other natural deformity, that I was no great proficient in the study of rhetoric and poetry, and of other faculties which perchance I might